Welcome to part 4 Unity 6 course. In this chapter I will explain about other game objects such as lights, audios, and so on. And I want to deep dive into the components. Actually, as I said in the previous chapters, components are actually scripts, C# scripts. You can add your custom C# script as a new component, new custom component, or use predefined components provided by Unity. You can access to all chapters and the other parts from the playlist here, and also the link is in the description. Here in the game object, you can access to many type of game objects. For example, facts like particle system, system for creating a rain effect, dust, snow, and so on. Here we have the lights. I will explain it in detail. And this is audio. The most important part is the audio source. We can play a 3D or static audio in the environment. We can add video player. Here we have UI or user interface. For example, if you want to show the health of the character, the name of the character, and so on, the buttons in the menu, in the main menu, we need to use the UI. I'll try to introduce the most important game objects. Here in the volume, which is an advanced concept, we can add post effects, actually the camera effects, and also we can add fog, mist, and so on using the volumes. Here we have the camera, a simple camera that I will introduce it, and these are the most important game objects in Unity. Alright, in the scene, by default we have a light and a camera. Let's delete them. I wanna add the lights from scratch. Here, we need to go to the game object, light. We have 5 types of lights. These are the lights. The rest of them are not actually lights. They're related to lighting. They help to add better lighting. The first one is a directional light. It mimics the sunlight. Here with W we can move it, but moving it doesn't affect on the scene. The rotation of it is important. Press E and rotate it. And as you can see, we have many effects, many sun effects by rotating it. And you can see the direction of the light here. At the right side, in the inspector, actually know about the transform component. It will help you to change the transformation of the object. Here you can move the object, rotate the object, and scale the object. I explained it in the previous chapters. I will upload every chapter of the course every week. So make sure to subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification to know about the new chapters and new tutorials. The next component that a light game object has is light. You can uncheck it to deactivate the light component, not the game object. You can disable the game object using this button, and as you can see, it's the text color is gray, not white like this cube or plane, and you can set it active. Here in the light component we have many sub menus. Let's start with general. You can change the type of the light here. Instead of adding the lights from this menu, you can change it directly, but I don't want to use this option. Here you can change the mode, the light mode. We are in real-time mode. Actually, real-time means if you rotate it, you can see its effect instantly. But for example, if you use baked, you can't see the result instantly, and you need to bake the light to this scene. And actually after that you can remove the light because the light effect has been applied to this scene. I will explain it in detail later what is the baking process, and mixed is the both of the bake and real time. Actually baking is very good for mobile games because it will remove the complexity and the calculation of the lights and add aesthetic lighting to this scene. Right, I will ignore the rendering layer. The next is the shape. Actually we have a parameter called angular diameter. Here you can make the light focused or spreaded. Here as you can see, let's see the surface. Here we have a little change. As you can see, it's more spreaded with higher value of angular diameter, and this is focused. This is very helpful when you have shadow. We don't have shadow applied for this slide. I will change this parameter later when I activated the shadow. Alright, in this section we can change some attributes. They're not so important. Actually this is kinda new in Unity 6. Here for example, let's change the flare size. As you can see, the size of the sun is growing up by increasing this value. Or you can change the flare fall off. For example, let's see here. As you can see, it's not smooth. Here is smoother, but this is not smooth. You can make it smooth by increasing the flare fall off. And also you can change the light of the flare. And you can reduce the flare multiplier, a value that multiplies by the flare size and flare power. Actually, this section is related to the light effects, not the power of the light or shadows, not the light itself actually. The next is related to the light color and light power. Here we have two methods to change the color of the light using the color directly or filter and temperature. For example, in the filter you can change the filter of the light, and actually we're changing the color, or you can use the temperature. For example, a cooler color or warmer color. Actually you can change it to color, just color. Here just like the filter. But the latest way to change the color is the filter and temperature, because you can access the filter and temperature with each other. For example, you can change the light color with the filter and change the temperature later if you want. The next is intensity. You can change and adjust this slider, and you can see a small logo here. For example, this is sunny. You can see the weather here, or you can select it and select one of these weather status. And also this number is related to the intensity, and you can change it manually. You can increase it and set it to whatever you want. The next attribute is indirect multiplier. It's related to, for example, this area where we don't have the light applied on the surface because the direction of light is this direction and we don't have lighting here, and indirect lighting adds an ambient light on the shadowed areas. Alright, I don't explain the other attributes because they are actually advanced and not good for this video. Actually, I will ignore the volumetrics. It's related to the adding atmosphere, fog and mist to the scene, and I didn't explain about the fog and mist, and I can't actually work with the volumetrics right now. The most important part is the shadow, and you can activate it, and you have this effect. You can change the rotation and see the result. You can change the update mode. Every frame means if we have 30 FPS or 60 FPS per second, so we have a 30 updates for the light per second, or 60 update per second for the shadow of the light. It's heavy, but it's the most powerful updating method for the lights. If you change it to on enable or on demand, especially on enable, if you change the rotation of the light, you don't see anything because it's not update frame by frame. If you disable it and enable it, as you can see, the shadow changed. On enable means if we disable light and then enable it, the changes will be applied. Alright, let's change it to every frame. You can change the resolution of the shadow here. This is low, this is medium, and you can see the pixels provided by the shadow, high and ultra. We have a very detailed shadow. It is very good, and you need to set it based on your preferences. You can change it programmatically and implement a settings for the quality and then change it in-game. Maybe I'll cover it, and this is a good exercise to work with the quality of the shadows. Alright, the next thing is normal bias. You can change actually the length of the shadow a little here. Let's keep it as is. Dimmer, actually it's opacity of the shadow. Here you can change it, but I prefer to use 1. It's the most realistic result. And actually you can change the shadow color, and black is good. Alright, the rest of the attributes related to the shadow hardness, shadow spreading, and so on. For example, the first attribute makes the shadow harder if you set it to a low value. As you can see, this is so hard edges, and this is smooth. The next attribute will make the shadow spreaded and also hard edges if you set it to a low value. The next is min filter, and you can make the shadow smoother if you set it to a high value. Actually, you can't make it harder by reducing it. You can make it smoother only. But the best way to make the shadow smoother is radius scale. Here this is better because we don't have artifacts. Actually, min filter makes the shadow smoother in another way, in a different way, but radius scale is the normal way to make the shadow smoother. And you can make it smoother based on your needs. For example, based on the weather. In a sunny day, this shadow is realistic, it's good. But if the weather is rainy, you can make the shadow smoother, just like this. I will ignore other attributes. They're not so important as the others, but let's explain about the angular diameter. If you increase it, you can see the shadow is smoother. It's different from this radius scale, but it will affect on the shadow as well. Actually, it will affect, and as I said, it will spread or focus the light, but actually it will affect on the shadow as well. And the next thing is indirect multiplier. Actually, it should apply in indirect lighting and ambient lighting to these shadowed areas, but we can't achieve it because we need to activate the baked color, not real time. And actually in this video I don't want to explain about the baking lights. Alright, we're done with directional light. Let's add, I don't want to explain about directional moonlight. Actually, it's a sunlight or directional light with a different color. Let's focus on point light, which is look like a bulb, and this is the point light. Actually, it's look like the bulb. Point light will change based on the transformation, not rotation and not scale, just if you change the position of it. Here we have many attributes that you're familiar with. Here you can change the type, change the mode, real-time or baked, and so on. Here we have radius. This looks like the previous slide, the directional light. Actually, the name of it's different, but application of it's actually similar. It will spread or focus the light, and I will explain it when I explain the shadows. In the emission, you can change the color of the light, temperature, intensity. Let's increase the intensity a little. And we have a range. This is the range. You can change the range by pressing this yellow node and dragging it, or you can change it manually using the range. Here in the indirect lighting, as you can see, we have a warning, and it says you need to use directional lights to add indirect lighting to your scene, or you need to set this light to baked and then activate this property. I don't want to use it, and actually I need to change it to 0. Alright, I will ignore the rest of the attributes, but this section, in intensity multiplier, is a value that multiplies by the intensity, and you can increase it instead of increasing the intensity. You know about the volumetrics. Actually, I don't want to deep dive into it because I didn't explain about the mist and fog. In the shadows, I can enable the shadow map here, and we have a different angle by changing the position of the light. You can change the update mode, resolution. You know about the tint, dimmer, normal bias, because I explained it in the directional light. And also we have a value here, fade distance, where we can change it, for example, to 10, and when you go further in the 10 actually meters in Unity units, you can see the shadow fades. But when you increase it, you will change and you will increase the fade distance of the shadow. It is very useful for optimization, and you can change it based on your needs. For example, in a game, when you get closer to the objects, you will see the shadows are appearing, and actually in some cases the resolution of the shadows are changing by getting closer to them. In the high quality settings, you can change some attributes. The most important part is the radius scale. You can make the light smoother or harder. This is very useful for this working, and we had this option in the previous slide. The next option is the contact shadows. While we had the contact shadows in the directional lights as well, they will add micro shadows. When we get close to the object, we can see the micro shadows. Here, let's activate it by checking this, or set it to low, medium, or high. Let's set it to high, and here let's change the position of light and see this area. As you can see, we have a micro shadow here, and actually you can see a hard shadow, a hard micro shadow. And this is very useful when you want to achieve a better result. Alright, now we know about the point light. Let's explain the spotlight. It is look like a projector or a flashlight, and here we have some different attributes. You know about the general menu. You can change the shape. It is cone, you can change it, or box. I prefer to use cone, and you can change the inner and outer spot. Here we have a bigger spot, or you can change the spot using the nodes, the yellow nodes, or change the depth of the light, and actually the inner cone. And let's change it here. Let's change the position of the light, and you can change the radius, just like previous lights. Here we can make it spreaded or focused. Here we have the mission. Let's pick a warmer color and change the intensity. We have a previous warning for the indirect multiplier, indirect lighting, and here with the range we can change the depth of the light. Alright, the mission just look like the previous lights. Let's work with the shadow map here. Let's enable it, and as you can see, we've applied the shadow on the scene, and you can change it by changing the position of the light, and actually the rotation is effective in this light. The attributes are similar to the previous parts, the shadow attributes. I don't want to explain them again. Actually, we have radius, scale, enable, contact shadow, fading distance, dimmer tint, and so on. We don't have any special differences which I want to explain. Alright, this is spotlight, and it's similar to actually point light. The next light is area light. It is not very useful. It will apply light based on a shape. It is kind of different from spotlight. You can change the shape of it. For example, like a bulb here, and the effect of the light is the bottom. You can change the rotation, and as you can see, the shape, the entire shape is changing. Here in the shape, you can change the shape of the light. It is a rectangle. We have the size X and size Y. We can change it to tube, and here this look like a line or disc. Alright, here we can change the emission settings, the range. It is different from the shape, and the rest of the attributes are similar to the previous lights. In the shadow we have a different system. We just have baked shadows, not real-time shadows. Actually, I didn't explain about the baked shadows, and as I said, it is very useful for optimization, especially for mobile game. And actually, you can't achieve shadow by enabling it. As I said, area light, it's not very useful. Actually, in many cases, spotlight, point light, and directional light are enough. Actually, area light is very good for representation. For example, you want to represent a character or a kind of special object, and this is very useful for those applications. Alright, let's add a directional light. It is better, and enable the light. These are the lights I explained in this chapter. I will deep dive into the camera, audio, and so on later, but let me add a camera and audio just for beginning this concept. Let's explain the camera. Here, camera, I don't want to deep dive into the attributes of it. It has many attributes, but I want to say if you select the game mode, you can see the camera view. And here, if we delete it, you can see a message that says no cameras rendering. Here we can change the position of the camera or rotation of it and see the result. Also, we can change the camera view based on your current 3D view. Here we can change the position or rotation of the camera and set it to whenever you are in the viewport. You can select the camera, go to the game object, and align with view. And as you can see, the camera is here, and here we have this result in the game view. Actually, game mode, game view is related to the camera. If you don't have any camera in your scene, you can't play the game. Actually, here we have many options that I will explain it in next chapters. And the last and one of the most important game objects are audio source. Here we have a audio source component that it has many attributes, But important part is you can assign any type of audio to your audio resource. WAV or MP3 type are kind of common, and you can import your audio files to your project and add them to the audio resource field. This is the most important field. If you don't have any audio file, you can't actually play the audio. You can change the volume, you can mute the audio, you can loop it. If it ends, it will play again and again. And we have many other attributes. Right, I explained about many important game objects that we will use a lot in Unity. In the next chapter, I will start the scripting, the C# scripting in Unity, and I will deep dive into other components, adding custom components. For example, we can right click on this component and remove it, and actually we have an empty game object. We can press add component and add an audio source manually to this game object. Actually, this is the main property of the Unity engine. It is very useful. Actually, everything in the Unity is an empty game object, and we will add predefined or custom components. In the next chapter, I will explain about them.